Very much, Tony. That is a very positive, very forward-looking prognosis of the future, but there's an awful lot of uncertainty around. It was more uncertain back in May when, as you said, things weren't looking great for the BBC and the new charter, and there were great fears about the previous Culture Secretary and what he might do. In the end, that seems to have gone pretty well, but how done and dusted is the charter? Is it all now there? You have no chairman yet, and we still have no idea how the unitary board, which will sort of replace the trust and so on. All of that is very uncertain. How confident are you that that's going to go well?
Yeah, well, I mean, we live in uncertain times, don't we? And what I'm trying to say is, in those uncertain times, you've got to know what you're secure about. And I'm absolutely secure on the creativity of the BBC and the ambitions we should have for the future of the BBC around creativity, around it making a great place to work, and around our global ambitions. But sure, we've got some things to manage, and we'll manage them. I'm certain about that. The charter is done. I'm not sure quite where it is in the process of Queen doing it in bits of vellum and all that sort of stuff, but the negotiations of that are over. Yeah, what are the issues for the next 6 months? We have to find a chairman. Well, I don't have to do that. We have a panel, an excellent panel, who I'm sure will find us a good chairman. We've got to get the right people on that board to work to help us to get the right culture around the board. I mean, I think we all know that culture for boards is so important, and that's something which has got to be set by the person who's going to chair that board. We've got to get the right people on that board. I am pushing as hard as I can for us, looking from the board, not from the point of view of, who would we like to have on it, but actually the point of view of what skills do we need to have on that board, because you've got a mix of people who believe in public service broadcasting. We need commercial help on that. We need marketing help on that. We need to make sure we're representing the country fully on that too. We need people who can help us with our education mission. So getting that board right is going to be really important. And then we have to get in short order the right relationship with Ofcom. They're going to regulate us. We want to have as strong a board as we can. This is a lot to get right, but we'll do it. And we'll do it because, I believe that anybody who has anything to do with the BBC wants the best for the BBC, and we'll get there. But listen, I'm not being Pollyannish. This is against some very tight deadlines, and as ever, there's an awful lot to do in the detail. But I feel confident we can get there, and I want us to look beyond where we are with the charter now and think very hard about the next 11 years. And one of the things I've been saying to the team, and I don't know whether this resonates with the audience here or not, is we've just got to keep being out there, talking about what we believe in. And I say campaign mode. I think by which I mean we shouldn't say, okay, the charter is done and dusted, now we can go, and then wake up again for the midterm review in 5 years' time, and 11 years' time, 10 years' time, when I can confidently predict it won't be me leading the DBC in 10 years' time, that actually, we better start revving up everybody again. What I want to do is to use this time to find a new way of us connecting with the people who care most about the BBC, creative people and our audiences, so that actually, when it comes to the midterm review, their voices are very strong. Because I go back, Torin, the thing which I've learnt most, I mean, I've learnt so many things in this whole charter review process, but one of the things I've learnt so powerfully is when the audience speaks, that really matters and counts.
The other big issue is money. You've had to take on paying for the over 75s licenses. You said originally that was revenue neutral, you thought, but there's a huge amount of cutting going on. So why are the cuts needed if that were revenue neutral?
It's cash flat. So we have to absorb inflation. That's number one. And number two, you can't just have a situation where we carry on doing exactly what we're doing now. So we're looking for money to reinvest in some of the future ideas. So yes, money is going to be tough. It's an organisation which I think has done amazingly, this is before my time, amazingly in dealing with the last raid on the BBC by the government through the Delivering Quality First programme. That will be delivered by the end of this year. I have to say, I take my hat off to all the teams right across the BBC who've done that. But going forward, yeah, we're going to have some budgets, and money is always tough. But I go back, what we know as a result of this charter campaign is we're going to exist for 11 years. The licence fee is going to be there for 11 years. Yes, we've got difficulties, but actually, would I swap the certainty of knowing what the licence fee is with all the bad things about the way that that agreement was actually negotiated? I'd love to come back to that if I could. Would I swap that for the uncertainties of the advertising funded market and all the uncertainties of working out there? You know, those are things you've got to balance out. So I'm not being sanguine. I'm not saying this is easy. It's not. It never is. But, you know, we have got some certainties. Could I just say one thing? Why I think we can't rest is because we have to make sure, you know, with the help of the people who matter, we have to make sure that there is a proper debate now, beginning, it's probably not right just now, but over the next couple of years, beginning about what is about the right level for the license fee. It was not possible last time because we were in a, I mean, you know, bluntly, we're in a mess. You know, we had to win the right to be heard, as I was trying to say in that speech. But we need much, much earlier to get across, you know, to the public, who, in the end, are the people that matter. At this price, this is what you can have from the BBC. And we've got to, I think that's where we've got to be on, if I call it campaign mode, don't misinterpret that, but that's where I think we've got to be out there talking to people about what matters.
I'm about to open it up to the floor, but finally, you mentioned Netflix. Everyone's talking about Netflix, Amazon Prime. How do you compete with a £100 million budget for the Crown? How do you see that competition and that whole process going forward? Because some people say, actually, people are still watching much more television than they're watching online, and there's a danger that if you cut BBC Three, for example, you're actually moving in the wrong direction in some way.
So I think Netflix, The Crown, you haven't mentioned it, but I will, Jeremy Clarkson on somewhere else, Amazon. I mean, the thing about that is, look, you've got to accept that's what's happening, and for them, for Amazon or for Netflix, you don't need to do what the rest of us have to do, which is to entertain people throughout the day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks of the year. So you can pick your big moments, throw a huge amount of money at it, and say, okay, now go play. But if you took, for example, Netflix's previous hit, by the way, something the BBC first did, I think, about 20 years ago with Michael Dobbs. I think Michael's quite a happy man at the moment. Then for those two...
House of Cards, if anybody knows.
Yeah, sorry, House of Cards, yeah. Those two series, we did, I think, 14 drama series. 14, 80 episodes. So for all the money that's thrown there, I think that gives us, that is our creative challenge to say, all right, they can put all that money around that, but actually our creative challenge is to say, can we use those 14 series, the Happy Valleys, the War and Pieces, to make as much impact to a much larger audience than Netflix or Amazon Prime can get to. And actually, you know, I'm not at all complacent about this, but we have to be Drake's ships against the Spanish Armada. Actually, it's not that Netflix, but, you know, in monetary terms, you see what I mean. And actually, we've got to get out there and ensure that we've got the creativity to be able to counter these big beasts. And this is why I go back when I say that, for me, that the next patch is about creativity, and it's about the culture of the place, and it's about global ambition. You know, this is why the culture of the place matters. It's why I want the BBC. This is why I'm putting such a stress on delayering, on responsibilities, on getting a team of people who really do work together, all these things, because actually, in the end, it's the BBC being a good place to work that allows someone like Peter Kosminski to say, as he did, I'm saying this, you know, he's in front of a large audience, so I'm not just quoting him, you know, from some corridor conversation, who said, I went back with Wolf Hall because I knew the BBC were the right place to do this, and they're the right culture to support this. And that's what we've got to kind of build on. And that's why I think what Charlotte's doing and others are doing is so, so important.